Hi there and welcome back. In the last episode, I've shown you how to use a next link as a button so that we'll have a floating button that the users can use to jump to any page that they want. I've also introduced a back to top button, which is a disappearing button which a user can also easily use to go back to the top of your web page. It's good that it's disappearing because it disappears when there's no need to jump to top. At the same time, if it appears, the user doesn't have to scroll back again to the top because he has the back to top facility. Now, in this episode, I promised you to explain how it works. And if you are not interested in React yet, you can skip this part. However, I'm planning to create a different series on React hooks. So we'll start that as soon as this playlist is done. So basically, we'll just make this short and simple. What is a React hook? React, remember, is based on function-based components, which means that we can create components using functions. React has stopped creating class components a long time ago. It's because of different conflicts encountered with JavaScript. So React by itself is not state enabled, which means that it has no states because it cannot use classes. Therefore, to be able to use states like they are class members, hooks are introduced. They are used to replace state variables. They avoid complex syntax and they allow components to be created like their independent states. The basic rules of hooks are when you create a hook, it must be at the top level of a component or a function. It must not be called inside or loops. Do not declare or call hooks inside loops or conditions. Hooks can only be used in React functions. So the most common hooks are as follows. Use ref. It is used to declare a state variable. So when a variable is declared a use ref like this, it becomes like a state of the function that contains it. So the function becomes like a class which has a state variable called input ref. Another hook is called use state. It's like use ref. The main difference is use state will trigger an action which is to render the component that contains it. We are declaring a state variable called count and the setter is set count. Set count is used to update the value. Now, input ref is just used as an ordinary variable. Initially, it's declared as null and you can put a value into it using an assignment statement. Use effect. This is the most important one. Use effect has two parts. It has a function and it has a dependency. So for example, this is a use effect function which will render a log at the console and followed by a set of dependencies. Use effect will be executed when the dependencies are satisfied. And there's also use memo. We will be expounding on use effect more in a short while. Use memo is like use effect except that it is used to memorize calculated values so that they are not recalculated unnecessarily during each render. Remember that if you have a state variable, a change in the state variable may render the component that contains it. And if the container contains a function that repeats unnecessarily, you must make use memo so that it will not be executed unnecessarily. Here's an example of a use memo. So we have a memorized value called memoized value and we declare it using use memo. We call a function that will, so say, run a long loop and will perform an expensive calculation and it has a set of dependencies like the use state hook. Without use memo, you have two inputs. You have a count and we have a text. If you type a text, automatically this component will be rendered and the expensive calculation will be repeated. If you use it inside a use memo, it will be only executed once, not on every render. Without use memo, calculation runs when the count changes. So that's the importance of use memo. So use effect, remember, is a function that will happen when a dependency is executed. What happens if you don't put a dependency on the use effect? It is not a use effect. It's like use state executes when every render is done. Now use memo, on the other hand, is always used with a dependency. Otherwise, it will also not memorize what is being assigned to it. What if you will have an empty dependency? This will make the use effect run only during the first render. Take note, this is an empty dependency. In this case, we have a dependency called count, which means that if count changes, the use effect function will be executed like this, and so on and so forth. So that's about React hooks. There will be a lot of other examples that we'll be using it. I hope we find time soon so that we can start our series on React and Next.js involving authorization and authentication, where we will be asking for passwords, so therefore we'll be asking for inputs. And remember that one of the functions of a use state hook is to validate. Now I've created a new version of the back to top button, which has comments, so that I will explain through the comment the function of each component. So at the first, we have use client, which means that this will be rendered on the client, and we are importing the hooks from React. We import use effect, use memo, and use state. So therefore, there will be a re-render because the back to top button will be rendered when it's available. Then we have an arrow up Lucid React function, and we have a special next hook called use path name. This is very simple. It just stores the path of the current URL that the user is browsing. First, we declare a function in JavaScript to check if an element being used is scrollable or not. This is done through CSS properties like the get the computed style. We can get the computed style by window.getComputedStyle. It will returns CSS properties like the constant overflow for y. Is there an overflow allowed for y, which means the vertical axis? If there's a constant overflow for y, then scrolling is allowed or the element is scrollable. If can scroll for y, the scroll height is taller than the current client height. This means that the element being displayed, either the main container or a div, is scrollable. Now the next is to get the scroll container. We first look for the constant main, if there's a main. If there's no main, we look for the current element which is scrolling. It can be a div or it can be the main div that is in our application, and it will return that as a window. So take note, scrollable element, check if the element is scrollable, and then get the scroll container, which element is scrolling, and then here's our function back to top. We use the path name hook to store the current path, and then this is the trick to make the button visible. We have a use state hook which is called visible, and it has a setter. It has a function called set visible, although the initial value of the variable is false by using the use state declaration. And then we have a threshold of pixels. If the user scrolls more than 300 pixels below, it will make the button visible, and it will also make it disappear when it goes smaller than 300 px. Now, we will set the reduce motion. When you are scrolling, because we are going to scroll up during the click of the button, we'll have to reduce the animations. That's a property called prefers reduced motion in the window in every HTML element. We set it as use memo so that we will know. We will set it to reduce, and if no such property exists, we will just return false. So if a property called prefers reduced motion is found, it will set it to reduce and memoize it so that it will not keep repeating it. Now our second effect is called the use effect. This is the function which checks the visibility of the back to top button. We get the scroll container, which we have declared here at the top. What container is scrolling? And then we declare a function called read scroll top. Is the scrolling at the top or not? Now check right away. If the scrolling is not on top by the scroll top property, which is 0. If the scroll top is 0, it's on the top. If not, if it's greater than 0, then it's not on the top. If the scroll top is greater than our threshold of 300px, then our variable visible will be true. Otherwise, if this condition is not satisfied, our visible state will be false, which means that our back to top button will disappear. And then call it right away so that we can either show or hide the back to top button. We will add an event listener which listens to the scroll event. Now the scroll event will call the on scroll, which will either hide or show the visible window. Aside from calling it immediately so that we'll have the correct state at the start, we will also assign it to the event listener of the scroll event so that when the scroll top goes beyond the threshold, it will show the back to top. If not, it will hide the back to top. So this makes this passive, so it will not be done very quickly. So it will reduce the speed of the scrolling. And then we return. Okay, we remove the old event listener and we will replace it with our new event listener. Now, the event listener will change every time the path is changed because the dependency of our use effect is based on path name. And then we have a handler for scroll to top. What will we do if the scroll to top button is clicked? We will scroll to top 0. If it's an instance of a window, the window will scroll to top. If it's a container like a div, it will return to the top of the div. And then we have a double check if it's not visible. If the component is not visible, then it will not do anything. So now here it is, we return the button, which will be embedded on the main page TSX. So here's our page TSX. We have the back to top button here. It's called this. Now let me show you the actual result. Let's move up a little bit so that we'll show the back to top button. Let me run my npm undev. Here's the application. And then let's try to scroll down. So if the threshold of 300px is reached, the back to top button automatically appears. And if it goes below 300px, it disappears, which is normal. Now if you click back to top, it brings you back to top itself without you having to scroll back again. So that's the main point of this video, explaining how the hidden back to top button appears when the threshold of 300px vertical value is reached. I hope you follow, and I really wish that I'll have time to start the playlist on Next.js and React, where we will focus on React components, applications like authentication and authorization. But for the moment, we will finish this. We will continue with image galleries in the next episode. Thanks for watching this video, and bye for now.